Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Community Improvement Fund podcast. As always, I am Davey Smith.
And I am Andrew Smith.
And we are the co-founders, co-presidents, co-CEOs of the Community Improvement Fund. We have lots of developments coming to you. This is our first podcast of 2022. And so we've been on hiatus since November just so we could do the holidays and all that stuff. So you want to talk about our content for today?
Yeah, so we can. I just thought of this now too, but we can kind of recap 2021 because that's our first year where we actually were incorporated in April. Talk about kind of what all we got done in that year. But since our last podcast in November of 2021, we have had some pretty big developments go down that we're pretty proud of and excited about. Yeah, we've had a news article written about us. We've been in contact with a couple other media members. We've had some more donations come in. We've had a mix-up with like our raffle ticket prices, and we've been experimenting with some other marketing stuff. Some of it has worked. Some of it has been very ineffective. So we want to talk about that. But before we get into our main content, you and Pia just got back from Hawaii.
Right.
So how was that?
Yeah, we just took our little, holiday vacation to Hawaii. We spent 2 weeks there, so that was fun. Great weather. Now is definitely the time to go. It's their winter there in Hawaii. Winter, in big air quotes, because it's still like 80 degrees. So yeah, it was perfect. It was perfect weather. It wasn't too hot. It rains all the time in Hawaii, but it really rained on us the first day we got there. It came literally like a monsoon, and it knocked the power out at the airport when we landed. It took us like 3 hours to get our rental car. It was pretty rough the first night. But yeah, we did a week in Maui, week in Waikiki, there for the Honolulu Marathon. So we ran the 10K. Yeah, it was good. Had a good time.
So
good break.
we haven't really talked about it that much. I know you sent us pictures. What did you like? What was your itinerary like? Were you at the beach at all? I know it wasn't really beach weather, and you were there for the 10K, but like, what did you do when you were there?
Yeah. So the trip was in two parts basically. There was Maui, and then there was Waikiki. So
what island is that? An island? I don't know anything about
So okay, so Waikiki is Honolulu, is like the beach area in Honolulu.
Oh, I see.
And so
that's the big island, right?
No. The big island is a different island.
It's Oahu, right?
Oahu, yeah. And then Maui obviously is just Maui. So yeah, in Maui we had like a resort style like place we were staying at that had like swimming pools and restaurants and stuff like that. So we did a lot of swimming pool and relaxing, went to a coconut farm. So that was nice. Learned all about like coconuts and things like that. And, did like coconut tasting. So that was fun. And then, so the beach near our hotel in Maui was nice, but it was kind of small. Like,
yeah.
I think I was telling you this earlier, because of like climate change, the ocean comes right up to the hotel. So large sections of the beach they actually have closed for dune restoration, which is essentially them beating back the ocean.
That's a losing battle too.
Yeah. So when it rained really bad, it had washed somebody's boat up onto the beach walk, and they had the beach walk closed because there was a sailboat laying in it.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and then of course, like the waves would come, like when you're driving to Lanai, which is the area where we were in, you're driving like right along the beach, and there are places where the waves will come up on the road, and so there's like signs. They're like, slow down because you might get
it's
hit
like a
by
rock fall sign around here. Where it's
right.
Like, watch out for a big wave to come knock your car off the road.
Well, the other side of the road is cliffs, and so they have rock. It's like falling rocks on this side and water on the other side. And like there was a section of the road that was like flooded, where the rain had swelled the ocean essentially, and it just not had receded. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, Hawaii's an interesting place because it's literally an island, in the middle of the ocean. They don't have like when you fly into the airport, there's a huge section of it that's for like air cargo because everything you get that's not made in Hawaii is flown in.
Yeah, because like even made in America stuff is like it's imported.
It's imported,
into
yeah.
Hawaii.
Yeah.
So that's I just did it feel like America or did it not feel like America?
It did feel like America, but it's a definite different culture from the mainland. So if you're watching watching the news, like I was watching the news, they have the Hawaiian language is sprinkled in strange ways. So like everyone knows like aloha, which is like hello.
Ohana means family.
Yeah, ohana is family. Love, is this aloha thing, and then mahalo is like thank you. And so those are the two big ones you hear is like aloha and mahalo. But all the place names are like, around here there's like Jefferson Street, and the place names there are all like have like 100 vowels strung together in apostrophe. It's Hawaiian language.
Historical people is who they're named after.
Yeah. And like they're like the elementary school that was nearby was like King Kamehameha Third Elementary School. So it's got its own culture, which is neat. It's cool. But yeah, it is. I don't know. It's not that different from America. I mean, mainland America, because like I don't know. It's Western. It's obviously been Westernized. Like there's like Taco Bell there and McDonald's.
So like there is like it feels like when you're in like a suburb or something, there are plenty of like franchises around.
Yeah. So
I guess I don't know if you were in suburbs or anything, but
yeah,
even in the city.
Yeah, in the city, there's plenty of like normal restaurants. Like there's an IHOP there we would pass by. One interesting thing I said like there are regional differences. Like the McDonald's there, they have Spam on the breakfast menu because like Spam is a huge food.
Just in case they can't get beef from the mainland.
Well, no, I mean people just love Spam there.
Oh yeah.
It's also a huge place for Japanese tourists, and so everywhere there's like signs. They're in English and Japanese, which is I don't know. It makes sense, but it's like a weird, unexpected combo because like I mainland you would be. I mean, a lot of places unfortunately are just English, but you would be more likely to see like English and Spanish,
at least
Spanish. And maybe if you're in like Louisiana, some English and French or something, but there it's like English and Japanese. And I don't know, it's interesting, and there's a lot of Japanese influence. So like my little truck I'm fixing up, I've got it like lowered. When we were there, we saw a ton of little trucks like that had been like lowered and had big tires on them.
Like old like Datsun trucks.
Yeah, which like it's kind of like a Japanese subculture kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. There's a lot of little Japanese restaurants that are like authentic Japanese.
It's like how you can get like authentic Indian food in London.
Yeah,
there's so many Indian people.
Yeah. So it's interesting like that.
So I wanted to ask too. I know you're more well traveled than me. So like, how did it compare to your vacations in like Mexico City or Thailand? Even like, cause like it is still America, so it's not as exciting because you're not in a foreign place really, but it's still like cool. Like everyone wants to go to Hawaii.
Yeah. So well, you mentioned Mexico City and Thailand. Obviously, I don't speak Thai well enough. Like I know some phrases, but I don't speak Thai anywhere near fluently. So it's definitely different for me in that way. Obviously they speak English there, which is a huge plus if you're
in Thailand. You mean? Or were you talking about Hawaii?
In Thailand and Hawaii. I was talking about Hawaii, but it's like everyone obviously in Hawaii speaks English. A lot of people in Thailand speak English. Like they would just speak to me in English because obviously. But like when we went to Mexico City, no one spoke English. It was all Spanish. Like even if you were in like a restaurant, like a popular tourist restaurant, they didn't speak English. So
but Spanish is easier to pick up on than Thai though.
Yeah, because there are a lot of words that are
cognates.
Cognates.
Plus, you've just heard Spanish your whole life. You haven't really Most people haven't been
Right.
around Thai.
Right. So it's sort of different in that way to where you can get around. You don't really need a tour guide or anything if you don't speak the local language. I don't know. I like it. When we were there, actually, we had talked to some people, and Hawaii is pretty expensive. It's not. I'll a caveat. It's not as expensive as people make it out to be. People make it out like you're going to pay $10 a gallon for gas over there, and everything's just through the roof. Like we did some comparison shopping at I went to Ace Hardware and looked around because I was curious as to what the prices were on non-touristy stuff. Prices on non-touristy stuff aren't that bad. It's basically the same.
What about restaurant food? Was it expensive?
Well, so we were going to touristy restaurants. So I'm sure you can still go to McDonald's
and Pineapple Willie's of Hawaii.
Yeah. I mean, we were going to spots that can afford to do the markup because they have tourists coming in. So
because you're gonna pay for it regardless,
right? Because you're on vacation, right? If you're, I'm sure if you live there, you're not going there every night, So yeah, so when we were there, actually, some people had recommended Puerto Rico to us instead, which is interesting because Puerto Rico is also a U.S. territory. I don't know about how many English speakers are in Puerto Rico, but I have to imagine it's relatively high.
So I've heard Puerto Rico. Oh, I'm sure. So I've actually heard that Costa Rica is a budget Hawaii vacation because I don't know. I was because when you said that, I was thinking I may have heard the same thing, but I heard Costa Rica and the flight's way shorter.
Yeah, definitely.
How long was the flight to Hawaii?
Ooh,
because we're flying out of Atlanta.
Right? Yeah, flying out of Atlanta. It's depending on your layover. Obviously, we didn't have a direct flight. You can get a direct flight, but we just didn't take one. So it's 12 to 15, depending on your layover. So it's not. I mean, it's not terrible.
Total, right?
Total. So to put that in perspective, Thailand is a 24-hour flight. Because it's literally on the opposite side of the world from here. Mexico is it's a quick flight. It doesn't feel. I think it's 4 hours or something, 4 or 5. Mexico City from Atlanta. So it's not terrible. It is long. It feels like an international flight going to Hawaii because it's all ocean. I mean, once you clear California, it's water for 10 hours or whatever.
Does it make you? I've never flown over the ocean. Do you get nervous at all?
I mean, I don't, just because.
I'm sure some people do.
I'm sure some people do. It doesn't. Flying doesn't really bother me. I mean, I've done it so much, it just doesn't. It doesn't make a difference to me. It's like riding a bus,
Yeah, I've said this multiple times. The only time I get nervous on a flight is right when you reach cruising altitude, and you know how you can feel the plane, almost like you can feel them put the brakes on.
Yeah,
and you kind of come forward in your seat a little bit. I always get nervous at that point in the flight. That's the only thing about landing doesn't bother me. Taking off doesn't bother me. I've had some turbulence that was pretty gnarly. I didn't really get nervous because the odds that you just fall out of the sky are just so small.
Right.
If you're going to crash, it's going to be landing and taking off.
Right. Or you just have some freak engine malfunction, and then it's just
you can use if you're not over the ocean, you can usually land somewhere if that happens.
Right. Yeah. So it's not. I mean, I don't know. I'm not too worried about it. I'm sure. I mean, it's way safer than riding in a car, right? That's the comparison you always hear.
For now. Well, until there's self-driving cars.
Well, even then, I mean, plane's driven by a professional and is largely self-flying, as I understand it, anyways. So.
Well, I would think so. When if every car on the road was self-driving, though, there would be zero accidents. Well, you'd hit a deer every once in a while, but.
Well, I mean, software is going to have flaws in it. I mean,
sure.
Obviously, you can't build a perfect algorithm that can drive a car. You can't even build a perfect. I don't even know. It's something simple. Even is it susceptible to bugs? I mean, lately we just had a major world impact software bug in a library that just logs things out. So I mean, if you can screw up logging things to some kind of console, then you're. I mean,
so I was actually listening to a podcast with Elon Musk talking about Tesla's development in self-driving, and he was talking about a challenge that I had never thought of, and that it was programming object permanence into your self-driving car, because like think of a situation where there are kids about to like cross the street in a school zone, but then maybe a bus is parked on the side of the road and the kids are behind the bus, but they're walking across the street. So the car can't see the kids. But if they saw them 50 yards ago, it's got to remember there are kids behind this bus,
Right.
and I can't run over them.
Right. Well,
because it's largely based on vision, self-driving cars.
yeah. Yeah, it's computer vision. I mean, you can pull up videos on like YouTube or somewhere of the like debug output essentially of the car's camera to see what it sees. And it's essentially, the whole thing is recognize what am I seeing and tagging it to say, these are the yellow lines on the road. This is another car. This is a stop sign. This is
how I should act.
Yes.
In accordance.
Well, yeah. And then you just dump all that data and say, okay, here's me in the middle. What am I supposed to do? And it's the same way you drive a car, right? Because when I'm driving a car, I see a red light and I'm like, okay, I got to stop. Where do I stop? And then there's that white line on the road. In most cases, there should be.
And then people pull up to the crosswalk.
Yeah, people park in the crosswalk and pull up halfway through the intersection. You're like, can I turn right on red? Is there a right on red sign? So, in some ways, cars are actually not self-driving cars. Actually, won't drive like people drive because people bend the rules when they drive. Not that you're supposed to, but people do it enough.
Well, pedestrians are really like the problem, though.
Yeah,
because like if it was just cars, they wouldn't even have to stop at a four-way, like at a intersection.
Right.
They would just align so that they pass through smoothly.
Right.
They wouldn't take turns.
Yeah, because there would be no need to, because your car would just slow down or speed up so that there would never be.
So you're not colliding.
Yeah, I've heard some arguments that honestly though, self-driving cars, people like self-driving cars are the future. Like, I would much prefer a future without cars, and the argument I hear is like, the perfect self-driving car already exists. It's a train, because those like maglev trains, they don't have conductors on board. It's all computerized,
and they're probably low emissions too.
Oh yeah, low
per
emissions.
person. No comparison.
Yeah, and they don't run into other trains. Like, it just doesn't happen. I mean, it happens every now and again. Something will derail or something, but like compared to car crashes, it's so low. And I mean, you can fit so many more people on a car per square. Like for the square footage, it's just so much more efficient. You don't have to have a road. I mean, look how much of society is built around cars. Because
that's what I was gonna say. The problem is that the United States, most of their suburbia is based around having to drive into town to do literally anything.
Yeah, and then your cities are built that way too. I mean, just look at downtown Chattanooga. You have parking lots, parking garages, all of those.
Some cities are better than others, though.
Yeah, some cities. I mean, Chattanooga is even not that bad, I would say, in terms of parking. But even look at like downtown, like by the aquarium, prime tourist territory, prime downtown space.
It's mostly parking.
It's mostly parking lots. Like, there are parking lots everywhere. And so,
see, I feel like this house that we're in right now is like 5 miles from downtown.
Yeah,
I should be able to hop on a bus and be downtown in 10 minutes.
Right.
Or in 15 minutes.
Yeah,
but
so
I can't. I have to drive.
So one city that I've been in that does this really well that I thought was Chicago. So Chicago has a really great train system and a really great bus system. When we were in Chicago, we didn't have to drive at all. We didn't take Uber at all. We literally took buses and the trains, and we were good. And so I don't understand why other places can't be like that. I mean, I understand, like, in Atlanta, the city is not built for MARTA. MARTA is their train system, so they don't have, like, it. You can't really get very far on MARTA and buses. It's just inconvenient. Like, for example, I lived like 2 miles from work. There was a bus that stopped in front of my apartment and went directly to the office, and it would still take me like an hour to get there by bus.
On the bus?
On the bus. And it's just because it has 100 stops, there's only one bus line that's going through there. It's
if you could build the city from scratch, it should be a downtown commercial center, and then tons of little suburbs that are built around a centralized like train station, to where you just hop on the train, go into town, and then once you're in town, you should be able to walk. You should be within 10 blocks of anything.
Well, we've talked about this before, that like a good example of what a city could be is like a college campus. So
Right.
you went to Vanderbilt, which is in Nashville. I went to Georgia Tech, which is in Atlanta, Midtown. In Midtown Atlanta around Georgia Tech, everything is so walkable. And even like I can walk across campus at Georgia Tech in 15, 20 minutes, but there's buses constantly, so I don't even need to. I'd literally hop on the bus. I'd hop on the bus, and you can be anywhere on campus in 5 minutes.
What are your buses called at Georgia Tech?
We have the Tech Trolley, which was our main thing, and then we had Stinger buses as well. Yes, Stingers.
So we had Vandy vans, and there were three. Like there was a black route that went clockwise around campus, red went counterclockwise, and then gold went somewhere else.
Right.
But there were only 3 different routes, and they were super convenient. But Vandy's the same way. It's a pretty small campus. You can walk across it in 15. But we didn't really... Did you have anything that would take you into the city? I know Georgia Tech's kind of in... It's more in the city than Vandy is.
Yeah, so some bus routes will go... I mean, they'll go into the city, but it's very specific places. So it's not... Like, you couldn't easily navigate the city with just the Georgia Tech buses.
Right, and because we didn't either, we always Ubered if we were going to downtown or somewhere.
Same.
We had to Uber. Logan and I walked back from a Predators game but it was like 25 blocks, and it's just because our Uber canceled on us like 4 times, and we were sitting there for 45 minutes. So we decided. So you could walk downtown if you had to, but you didn't really want to.
I've walked from Mercedes-Benz back to Georgia Tech before. I mean, it wasn't a terrible walk. It takes a while.
It takes a while,
but it's not like
you're not going to get stabbed.
Yeah, you're not going to get stabbed. I mean, there are certain neighborhoods in Atlanta where you probably shouldn't be walking at night.
Yeah.
But I mean, for the most part, if you're, because it wasn't just me. It was me and a friend. And so I don't know. For the most part, you're fine.
I always felt pretty safe in Nashville, but especially downtown Nashville. There's so many people on the street. Nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah, exactly. Like in Atlanta, you're walking past like stuff going on, like
right.
So because we went down like Lucky Street, I remember, and there's like a jazz lounge there, and there's bars that are open. So I mean, there's people around. I think where it gets sketchy and where you probably shouldn't be doing it is if you're walking through like residential, like rundown residential neighborhoods, because that tends to be
a lot of abandoned homes.
Yeah, because that tends to be where the crime is, at least in Atlanta. And I'm probably sure that applies generally, but for the most part, I think
also if it's not 2:00 in the morning, you're probably fine.
Yeah. During the day, I mean, it's whatever. But yeah, I think a lot of people who don't live in big cities are afraid of big cities, and they think. Because when you see news about Atlanta, it's like people getting shot in Atlanta, And so the image that forms in your mind is like, ooh, Atlanta's a dangerous place.
Stay away from there.
Yeah, better not go to Atlanta. And like Chicago is another one. People are like, hello, have you seen the gun violence in Chicago? I'm like, yeah, I understand there's gun violence in Chicago, but you're not getting, like, nobody's like opening fire downtown Chicago, just spraying. It's not the war zone that the television makes it out to be at times. Yeah. I mean,
because a lot of violent crime is it's like gang violence, and they're just killing each other. Like, they're not killing you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's like murder statistics that show like you don't get murdered by strangers. And in most cases, it's not like you're just randomly getting gunned down. It's like it's people that know each other or have some dispute that ends up getting settled by guns. But anyways, that's a tangent there. But to reel it back in,
that was our Hawaii recap.
Yeah, not all that happened in Hawaii, obviously.
Okay, yeah. So we have been busy and moving up in the world since last time we got on here. So a big thing that happened is that we got a first news article written and published about us in the Dade County Sentinel, which is the main newspaper that circulates in Trenton / Dade County, Georgia. And it is the county directly to the west of where we live. And we grew up getting groceries in Trenton every week, so we're very familiar with Trenton and the people there. So it was really cool to get an article in that paper. I did a phone interview with the editor of the paper, and she wrote up the article. It didn't go in the print edition, as far as I can tell. I couldn't find one, but it was online, and it's still online. And I thought it was a pretty good article.
And we can link it.
Yeah,
we'll link it in the description so you can take a look at it. Yeah, I thought it was. I read through it. Obviously, I thought it represents us in an accurate way. You know, they didn't editorialize it too much, and they weren't really. It was a nice factual write up, based very tightly on your interview. So
yeah. So and then I shared the link on our Facebook page. And then I shared that post on my personal page. And it's just from kind of the way I feel. I feel like a lot of people saw it, or at least more people than have heard about us before. Like it got us some exposure, and that kind of led to. So we also received a pretty significant unsolicited donations on our website, which is huge because we had never gotten a donation before that wasn't at our trivia night or that was from one of us.
Yeah, or that we were like out there actively working for, like asking people to donate.
We were surprised when we saw it come through on the website.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how many of those obviously came from people who read the article.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
It's hard to know what prompted people to donate. But
the timing of it was within like 3 or 4 days of that article being posted.
Right. And like we said, it was unsolicited. So we got the donations and we were like, oh shoot. Nice. Like that's a happy surprise.
Yeah. It was also the biggest donation we had received because we hadn't received a donation more than $20 before those.
Right. Yeah. By a large margin, each of those donations that came in were more than our average take. So obviously we have some support out there, which is good, which is a good feeling, because at times, just being fully transparent, at times it feels like, oh man, like not a lot of people showed up to our first trivia night, and I expected more people to come. I had my expectations too high.
Yeah, we definitely did.
And so when nobody showed up that first trivia night, I remember going home thinking like, oh man, like, is this going to work? Like, or is this the right thing? And obviously, the first one's the hardest. The second one, we had more people show up, and we were better prepared. We knew what to do. We had a better space. So it's a learning experience, but I feel like we now have a good bit of momentum. We did have to cancel so we were supposed to be having a trivia night today, which is today is what, the 15th?
Yeah, January 15th.
Yeah, January 15th. So we were supposed to have one today. We have pushed it out because at the time of recording, Omicron variant of coronavirus is pretty bad. We know a lot of people in the community that have either tested positive, currently are positive and have it, or have recently tested positive. And so
we didn't want to contribute to the spread.
Yeah. When it's already in the community so bad, that it's out there. I mean, it seemed like an unnecessary risk to have it.
Like 2 of the families that usually come to the trivia night had a family member positive for COVID. So
right, we're not trying to expose people at our events. If we have an event, we want it to be a safe event that people can feel good about coming to, and I just didn't feel that way this time.
Plus, selfishly, we wanted people to show up. Like, we don't want to have one if we're not going to have great attendance anyways.
Yes. Yeah, and so we're looking to, again, we'll keep an eye on cases. We'll keep an eye on community spread, the people we know that'll be there.
Because it does come in waves.
Yeah, it comes in waves, and so the idea is mid-February sometime. This should have kind of run its course by then, and we can have one.
Maybe we'll have a Valentine's Day themed.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Because our last one was Thanksgiving. It was kind of like Thanksgiving holidays.
Right. So, yeah, and So we'll get back at it. We'll have another one. Obviously, Facebook will be the place to go and look for that. There will be an event posted out. And we'll get flyers around the community like we always do. But just be on the lookout for that.
Yeah. Okay. So we also have significantly changed our approach with how we are adding people to the list of potential recipients of our first Chattanooga Basic Income Check. So the way it was working previously,
Or not working.
yeah, the way it was theorized to work the first however many months of our existence, we were essentially saying we need to raise $5,000, and $5,000 is still our fundraising goal
For the first
to be able
raffle.
to add one person that is receiving a $20 monthly check for the rest of their lives. So we need $5,000. So we were thinking, how do we incentivize people to contribute to that $5,000 fundraising goal? And we said, okay, we're gonna raffle off the person that gets to be the first recipient. So we're gonna sell. You're gonna get $20 a month if you win. So we're gonna charge $20 for a chance to win. And we did that for what, 8 months. 6 months.
Well, I mean, we weren't.
Not really, but I mean,
Yeah.
like that was the policy for that long.
Right. Yes.
And we sold 2. We sold 2 tickets.
Yes.
So we decided, okay, this is a bad idea, right?
Right. And in that same period of time, we had sold 2 tickets, but we had raised a significant amount of money through events.
Yeah, we had raised a few $100s.
Right.
From 2 events.
Yeah.
Really. All of it was from 2 events.
Yeah.
And that's net. We had netted that much, which is small. We understand, but it was good.
It was more than the $40 we had in the
Yeah.
raffle ticket fund.
Yeah.
And the raffle ticket fund's the one we care about, right?
That's all we care about right
Yeah, it's
now.
all we care about. The other account is just a means for us to get more into the raffle
okay,
ticket.
we have
account.
this money now. How do we spend it to raise money for? So, anyways, now we have retooled. We have identified a problem, and we have found a solution. And now our policy is the ticket price, quote unquote ticket price, has been reduced from $20 to $5. Plus, bonus, anytime we host an event like our trivia nights, if we do any kind of fundraiser, any kind of event, if you show up and pay your $5 admission to play trivia, that automatically gets you a raffle ticket, which is a chance to win the $20 a month Chattanooga Basic Income.
Yeah, and so obviously you have to sell more tickets that way. You have to, if I'm to raise the same amount of money, if I'm cutting the price in fourths, that means I have to sell 4 times as many tickets. But
right, so before we only needed to sell 250 tickets at $20. So
Yes.
now we need to sell 1,000
at
$5. But we're making really good. We're making significant progress, and every time we host a trivia night, we're gonna sell like 40.
Right. And so the breakdown is, like you mentioned, at our events you pay $5 to get in, and that's just a donation at the door. So now instead of that donation going into like the general fund, it just goes into the raffle fund, and we take your name and we say, all right, well, you have netted yourself 1 ticket. So everybody out there now has skin in the game. If you've come to a single event, you're in, and if you come to multiple events, you have multiple tickets. So we're still doing like concessions and other things that we do at fundraising events, still going to the general fund, because we can't just completely neglect it. We have to have that for fundraising,
And we have to pay we have expenses that associated with
Yeah.
existing.
Yeah, exactly. And so we do have to keep some in the general fund. But what this is it's essentially just us reallocating more of the general fund towards the raffle fund, because again,
because we realized we had raised this much money, and we were like, we might as well have this helping us get to our $5,000 goal.
yes, yeah, because the faster we get to the $5,000 mark, once someone has a ticket, that's good publicity for us. That should, in theory, sell more tickets, because now it's real, right? Now I can see if you were like, well, I'm giving you $5. I'm never going to see anything out of this. Because, and to be fair, that's because that's how a lot of these nonprofits operate.
Yeah, they don't stay in business long.
Yeah, they ask you for money, you give them money, and then it seems like nothing happens.
Yeah,
There's nothing
you're
tangible.
right. Even if they are in business, you never see them do anything.
Yeah, like going back to college, there used to be people that there's a bridge in like Midtown, and people would set up stands there and raise money. And I'm sure they're raising money for good causes, but if I give you $10, that's it. I'm throwing money into the void and it's gone. With us, I mean, if you give me $5, you have your name's in the hat. You know, like we're gonna do a drawing, and you've got just as good a chance as anybody else.
And whenever somebody wins, because we're gonna hit it this year. This year, definitely.
Yeah,
I'd like to hit it in the first half of the year.
5,000. I mean, hopefully, yes. Definitely this year. I mean,
definitely.
I'll make it happen this year
yeah.
if need be. That'll be my Christmas gift to the community improvement fund. Will be us hitting $5,000.
So, anyways, but whenever we decide who or pull the name, everyone else is gonna know that person,
right?
Because we don't have a broad base of support, So like everyone's gonna be like, well, dang, shoot, this. I'm like, my freaking cousin, won the thing. Like now he gets $20 a month. They're gonna be jealous.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's gonna spur, especially. So the idea is that once we have 50 people that are receiving this money, a significant amount of other people are gonna know that they're getting that check, and at least will be interested in us.
Yeah, and again, we're starting out $20 a month, which might not sound like a lot, but if your neighbor's getting $20 a month and you're not,
yeah.
I mean, that's like I'd be wanting $20. I mean, $20 for a month for me would be nice, a nice thing. And
why not?
And again, if you're in need, thankfully I am comfortable, but if you're in need, $20 is a lot. Is a lot too. I mean, that helps.
If your paycheck is 5 days away and you're out of gas, $20 will make a big difference.
Right. I mean, you can get a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter for $10 or $5, depending on what size you get peanut butter, I guess. But
you're out of touch.
Yeah, I don't know. I eat a lot of peanut butter.
You get a giant jar of peanut butter.
Yeah, I buy the giant 2-packs of peanut butter at Costco, so maybe I'm out of touch there. But on how much peanut butter the average person needs.
You got to factor in your Costco membership.
Yeah.
Cost.
But anyways, it's a big difference. So $20 is nothing to sneeze at. The faster we get there, the better. I definitely will get there this year. When we get there this year is up to the people who decide to come. Up to you watching this video. Up to how many donations we get.
And how many people come to trivia night.
So
we were hoping, if this trivia night that was supposed to be today had happened, we would have been, if we would have had the same attendance as last time, we would have been close to 20% of the way to our goal. So we would have been close to $1,000 in the bank.
Right.
On 3 events.
Yeah.
And that's pretty good.
To be starting out like we are and to be the size we are, it is pretty good. Speaking of momentum and growth too, we have, I think at time of recording we had 6 subscribers on YouTube, which is pretty good. I mean, I'm not a subscriber, so that's not us padding the stats or anything. That's
why are you not a subscriber?
Well, I mean, I should be, but I'm just saying I'm not included in that number.
Oh, yeah.
And we're getting decent views on our videos, so hopefully by putting more content out, we'll get more views, more viewers. So definitely we'll have the donation link in the description of this video. So if you can't make it our event, if you don't feel comfortable coming out, if you're just not in the area that we're doing things right now, by all means, drop a donation on the website. We've streamlined the process. So before there were like 2 buttons, you would either buy a raffle ticket or do a donation. It's now all donations. If you want to put $50 in the donation, that's 10 raffle tickets. We're taking care of it behind the scenes. We take your name and some quote shipping information. Basically, it's just to get an address for you so that we know you're in the area or you're out of the area, and we know how to deal with that.
And if you win, where to send the check.
Yeah, it's contact information essentially, just so we can get a hold of you if you win. But that's as good as coming to an event. If you just want to throw us some money, and again, I mentioned this last time, I'll mention it again. If you don't have that money to throw away, we get it. Throw a like and a subscribe on this video. Liking and subscribing this video helps the algorithm, helps get this video out to more people. More people see it, more people donate. So it's that you liking and you watching this video is a donation in of itself, and we thank you for it. I mean, I'm serious about that because it help every little bit helps, and that's what we're doing here.
Yeah, I also wanted to talk in terms of marketing. We ran an ad on Facebook for 5 days, and we paid $100. We ran $100 ad budget for 5 days, so $20 a day, and the ad was seen by I don't remember at this point, but a few thousand people. It came across the screen of a few thousand people. And essentially the ad just had our logo on it, and it kind of explained the raffle ticket process. And at that time it was $20. So it said a $20 donation gives you a chance to win, a 1 in 250 chance to win $20 a month for the rest of your life. That was pretty much all the ad was. So we were optimistic that we would at least get a donation from that, and we didn't. So we were kind of disappointed. When I think about it, I don't know. It's definitely a reflection of the $20 price point being too high, but it also, I'm not convinced that if we were more well known in the area, that kind of ad wouldn't be effective then. Because I think it just comes across on think about if you're scrolling through Facebook, that ad pops up and you've literally never heard of that company. There's almost no way, because the only people that have given us donations are people that know us personally, so that gives us the credibility in their eyes. You're not going to donate to something that you've never heard of. So when I was fantasizing about getting donations, I was like, oh, they're going to see it, they're going to be interested, they're going to click on our website, they're going to read about us, they're going to think it's a good idea, and then they're going to donate, and that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and to your point about brand awareness, I think having that ad does more in brand awareness than donations.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a total loss. It helped us out by people seeing our logo, but I just was really hoping somebody would donate.
Yeah, same here. I think, again, like you mentioned, as we grow, people we will have some actions to put towards our credibility. Right now, like you mentioned, it's just people who know us. People who know what we've done in the past, who know that, oh, these guys have good ideas, or I like the way these guys think about the world, and that's where the credibility comes from. If you don't know us, obviously you don't have that. This podcast is how we want to give you that same feeling if you don't know us, because I don't expect you to look at a faceless, nameless corporation, and just oh, sure, they're gonna change the world. No, I understand that's pie in the sky. Nobody thinks like that, and I don't expect you to. But if you watch the podcast and you agree with the way we think about things, and you want to support us trying to make a difference, and you're saying, well, I'd like to make a difference, but I don't know how. Here you go. Let us work for you. You're hiring by donating. You're hiring us to go out and try to make things better in Chattanooga and the surrounding area. So, that's sort of, we'll get there eventually. If we're putting out these videos and we have 5,000 views on every single one of them, out of those 5,000 people, somebody's going to donate, and somebody's going to say, oh, that's a good idea. I like that. I'm throwing this donation out there. Go do that thing.
At the very least, if we get a bunch of videos, we can have a sponsor maybe.
Right.
And at that point, the company is making money. And also, I was thinking, once we have our first recipient, then our endowment, the fund, will actually be invested, and we'll have natural growth too.
Right.
So, I mean, it literally, each donation is our hardest donation moving forward.
Right.
Because once we have a $5,000 fund that is invested in our mutual funds, then it really is only a matter of time.
I think less tangibly too. as a sort of side benefit, as we grow, we're also giving credibility to the cause in general, because we can then go and say, hey, Mayor of Chattanooga, whoever it happens to be at the time, we have this platform that is really popular, and we've got this endowment. We're doing things with it. We the people of the area think this is a good idea, and this is what we want. And so it's a way to give voice. Obviously, we're a nonprofit organization, so we're not involved like politically. We're not pushing a political agenda, but at the same time, we are a representation of the people in a way, because we're completely funded by small donations, and so by individuals. So in a way, you're speaking by donating to us. You're saying, I think this is a good idea. I think I want what
want
you
more
guys
things like this
Yes.
to happen in my area.
Yes. And that's, even if that's for your selfish own benefit, that's fine.
So what, yeah.
So what? So go for it.
I want to apologize if you see a ladybug flying around. My basement is infested with ladybugs at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's what that is.
It's that time of the year. We're on the eve of the great snowstorm of 2020.
We're supposed to get. So I live in the valley. I live in the Chattanooga Valley. Davey lives on Lookout Mountain, and so do my parents. So we are supposed to get a trace of snow to 2 inches of snow, but I think you could get like 6 inches tonight.
Yeah, we'll see if it materializes.
When is it supposed to start? You need to leave.
8:00 in the morning. It's gonna rain.
Not until the morning.
It's gonna rain during the night and be kind of a wintry mix, I think, at some points. But it's really gonna start in the morning. So I'm not expecting it to get super crazy. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm trapped in my house tomorrow. But it is what it is.
How much time do we have?
So we've been going for 45 minutes at this point.
All right. So do you want to talk about our goals for 2022?
Yeah, we can use that to kind of wrap it up, because again, I don't want to go too terribly long. So goal. We sort of touched on it already. We would like to have our first recipient. We do our first raffle drawing, 2022. I'll say that with almost certainty that that's going to happen.
I want to start personally like donating more every month. If I can, because I'm getting to where that is not going to be a problem. I think our goal should be 2 in 2022. Because 1 is the bare minimum. On December 31st, on New Year's Eve, we'll do 1.
Right.
I would draw it on New Year's if we don't have $5,000 by the end of the year, like you said, we'll do it.
I'll do it. Yeah.
We'll do it. So I think that's bare minimum. Our goal should be 2, or we're really, really close to our second one.
Right. I don't want to. The only caveat I have there is I don't want it just to be us pushing it over the goal. I want the community behind us.
Yeah. So if we say we are 90% of the way there on individuals, we're gonna push it over.
Yeah.
Because like I said, as the fund gets bigger, it's going to also grow faster. We're moving along an exponential curve. Because in the limit, we are going to be naturally adding people almost constantly.
Right.
Until we have everyone.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that.
So literally the first one's the hardest, the second one's the second hardest, the third one's the third. It gets easier every time.
Yeah.
And we don't need to raise as much every time.
That's true.
Because we're going to have natural growth.
That's true. That's our main goal, obviously, is getting people onboarded. Having events more regularly, I think, is a good thing. Again,
once a month, bare minimum.
Yeah,
something.
Again.
Not necessarily a trivia night. And, well, go ahead. Go say what you're
Well, I was just going to say, COVID permitting. Obviously, we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. This variant's been really contagious, allegedly more mild. So if that's what we're trending towards.
Among the vaccinated.
Yeah. If that's what we're trending towards, and vaccinations are trending upwards still, so that's good. If you haven't got your vaccine, go and get it. It's a no-brainer.
I still need to get my booster.
Get your booster if you don't have it. Do your part for you selfishly, if for nothing else. Obviously, obviously you're less sick. I've got the booster. It was fine. I mean, it's no big deal. It's a shot in the arm. I get a flu shot every year. It's the same thing. So yeah, COVID permitting. Assuming I would, fingers crossed, it's going to be calming down as the year goes on. You have to imagine that we're getting to that point, but if it gets bad, we will also seek alternate ways of getting involved.
We'll figure it out.
We just need to be doing something. We'll do regular episodes of the podcast. I want to get an episode of this out also once a month minimum. So you'll have more of that going into 2022. What are the goals? Any goals?
Yeah, so we want to do 2 pulls, get 2 people receiving checks, more events, more podcasts. I mean, really, that's all our main priority right now is just getting that first person.
Yeah, I mean, really, raising funds and drawing cards out of a hat. That's really all we're doing. Which is good. I mean, that's the simple business model here.
So actually, I have an article cooking with the Chattanooga Times Free Press. I did an interview with them a while ago. We are still technically in like a 90-day window before we are included on the register for 40 or 501c3s. So once we are on that register, I'm gonna do another interview to update the Chattanooga Times Free Press. But that article is gonna come out. So I want to do several more articles this year.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking about too, like we have our show here. There are other local shows, local podcasts.
Yeah.
I would have to do some research because, to be completely honest, I don't watch any local podcasts or anything like that. I don't listen in.
Somebody does.
But yeah, somebody does. So I would like to get in touch with somebody else and kind of guest appear on something or work with somebody else, just to get, if not just for our own benefit, but just to get connected in.
Yeah.
Get a better sense of the pulse of the city. If there's a podcast out there that's getting 10,000 listens per episode and we're getting 10, I'd like to go chat with them and say, how do you get your message out? Like, how are you effectively reaching people?
At the very least, like those morning shows, like the 3+G morning show,
right?
There's no way we couldn't get on that show.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go on that show and chat it up as often as they'll have me.
Yeah, and there's like a radio show. I mean, you're gonna have to wake up at 4:00 in the morning to do it, but
that's fine.
Whatever.
I'll do it.
Because people you might think nobody watches those, but people are up that early.
Yeah,
and people watch those. Somebody does.
I mean, even if you just have it on in the background, if you see us and you see our faces and we're talking about the Community Improvement Fund, or
we could at least post a clip on our YouTube page.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about you recognizing, hey, we're here and we're up to something.
And knowing that we're legit, so that you can give us money and we can actually do what we want to do.
Right. Yeah.
Because at this point, it's a money game. Like if we had a ton of money, we'd be doing work.
Right. I mean, I think it's undeniably a good idea. It's undeniably going to work.
It's just the question is, how long is it going to take?
Yeah, how long is it going to take? And the like you said, the first one's the hardest. The fastest we can get to a tipping point. There's a tipping point out there somewhere of how much cash do we need on hand? How many people do we need to sell tickets to before there's a craze and people actively buy tickets? And I mean, you would have to think that at some point we're going to be able to just draw constantly, and it's going to. I dream of the day where
we have to hire somebody.
Yeah, like we are the slowing point where it's like, oh my goodness, I cannot manage the amount of stuff that's coming in. Like we need a better system in place. I dream of that day, and we'll more than likely have to hit a pause button when we get there and stop and figure stuff out. But that's fine. I mean, that's a good thing. That's a happy thing. That's a good time that's a good problem to have. I mean, I don't expect that to be 2022. I think we have our basic infrastructure in place. We know how we're sending checks out. We know how we're investing the money. We're tracking donations, so we know how to draw tickets. When the time comes.
Oh yeah, I'm also working on. I don't know if you've looked on our website editor recently.
I mean, I don't know how recently.
so what I'm getting, I've started working on an our philosophy page for our website.
Okay.
Because I noticed that if you go to our website and if you read the homepage, and we have a Meet the Founders page on there with a little more info about ourselves, and then there's a donate page, and that's it. You know what we do if you read all that, but you don't really like if you wanted to know more about why we do what we do. That info is not on the website. So I'm working on a page called Our Philosophy, where it just is going to outline why we think being privately funded is better than being funded by the government. Why it's an endowment method and not as soon as we get money we send it out.
Right.
Explaining those main concepts, just for a little more in depth information about us. Do you think that's a good idea or not?
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a good idea. I think our website's kind of bare bones on purpose.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of content there because there doesn't need to be. I mean,
we're a very simple operation.
Yeah, our goal is very straightforward. I think having a philosophy page is good because if you're watching the podcast at this point, this is episode 3, so you probably have. If you've seen the other 2, you probably are getting a decent sense of the way we think about the world. But if you're just on the website, you're not going to know that. I would encourage you. Obviously, if you're watching this, you've already found the podcast, but I would encourage if people are curious about us, I would send them to the podcast and say, hey, watch a couple episodes, and just get to know us, get to know the way we think, the way we see things. And honestly, you might not agree with us on some things. I mean, I feel like send
us an email if you don't agree.
Yeah, send us an email if you don't agree. We'll talk about it. But we're not throwing out hot takes here. Everything we're talking about is fact-based, science-based. There's studies to back it up. We're not this isn't some pie in the sky fever dream we came up with, that, I bet this will work. There are facts showing and studies showing that this works. So
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say that we will address any
concerns,
any listener concern that we get in our email or any email at all. We'll address it on the podcast if it's not just like stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's relevant, then we'll address it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even if you're sending a straight, hate mail that's like,
fine, yeah.
I really don't believe in what you're doing. I don't know why. You phone me in and send me an email and tell me.
We'll have you on.
Yeah. info@communityimprovementfund.org. If you need that email address, send an email. It's positive or negative. If you've got something to say to us, send it in. We'll read it. We'll talk about it. So,
you might get roasted if.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't agree with you, I mean, we'll give out reasons for our position. We're not just gonna hate on you or anything, but we'll address it. I mean, I feel like if you have a good idea and if you have an operation like this, you shouldn't be afraid to get questions about it. You shouldn't. And we're not. If someone has a hard question for me, and I don't have a good answer for it, I'm going to take that.
That's my problem. Yeah, I should be able to answer.
Yeah, I'm going to take that back, and I'm going to say, okay, well, we're going to figure out the answer to your question, and sometimes it's going to be a really good question. We're going to be like, yeah, you've got a good point, and we'll change. Well, we will
we've
correct.
Had to change a few. I mean,
yeah,
we've changed some stuff about us since we started for sure.
Yeah, so obviously we're not infallible. We're going to try things that aren't going to work, and that's just. If you're gonna make an omelet, you gotta break a few eggs. So we're just gonna do that. But yeah.
Did you want to talk about New Year's resolutions?
I think we can probably save that.
Wow, this is the first episode of 2022.
Yeah,
there's no better time.
Yeah, I guess
we have time.
I was just talking. I hate most of my personal New Year's resolutions.
Well, do you actually make resolutions, or I've stopped because they never work?
Yeah, I mean, not really. It's a good time to reflect, I think, at the beginning of the year and think about like, all right, clean slate 2022. Like, what do I want to do? So, for those of you that don't know, I lost a bunch of weight I guess it's been a few years back at this point. Lost about like 85 pounds. So, a pretty significant amount of weight. I've gained some of it back. I'm not going to say most of it because that's not true.
You were too small.
Yeah, obviously, because I was also running. I lost a bunch of weight, ran a marathon and was in like marathon shape, which is really skinny, and then kind of have dialed that back. So I'm running another half marathon this year. So I do want to take some weight off, just because running any weight you don't have to carry makes it easier. I don't think I'm overweight right now. BMI standards, I mean, I'm not, but it would help if I'm going to be running a half. If I'm going to be running 13 miles, it would help to drop a little weight before we get there. So part of it's me getting back to like eating right, and running more and just do stuff like that. Because I feel better when I'm out doing stuff and when I'm active and when I've got a good diet and I'm not eating garbage all day long.
So is that an official resolution?
I think so. I mean, like you said, they don't really work, but it's a good goal to have going into 2022. And the the half marathon makes it concrete. If I show up in April to that half marathon completely out of shape and just bloated, and it's going to be a miserable 13 miles. So there's a punishment looming if I don't stick to it.
Yeah, I don't know if I really have. Like, I definitely need to lose weight too, but anytime I try to start that right after the new year, by the 5th, I've cheated, and I'm like, I guess I'll try again next year.
Right. Yeah.
No, but I know what you're saying. But like, that's not a good way to think about it. Like, definitely, like, just as a general trend, I need to eat better. I need to go to the gym more often, or just like not come home and sit on the couch.
And before I was successful in losing weight, I had tried a few different times. I mean, a lot, actually. I had tried, because growing up, I was always overweight. And then college, it's just like hit a peak, and I was like, I got to do something about this. But what finally worked for me was just tracking calories to get an idea of like how many calories I'm eating. And not even like in the beginning, you don't even have to reduce calories. I don't think. I think you just track what you're eating, and then when you see like, oh, I mean,
you're disgusted.
I'm eating 3,000 calories a day. Like when you see that number, you're gonna think, ooh, like that's too much. And then you're gonna, because I think average is 2,000. If you lose weight, for a lot of people, that's like in the 1,500 range. So you run a calorie deficit, and that's how you lose weight.
That's eating or losing it between 1 and 2 pounds a week.
Yeah, and it depends on who you are. Obviously, if you're like 7 feet tall and you're, like that's not going to apply to you. If you're a small woman, that's your numbers are also going to be different.
But
eat
like 800 calories.
Yeah, but you can do the calculation. It's pretty easy. There are tons of websites out there that'll tell you here's how much you burn, here's how much you're of a deficit you'd be at. But I think that's the first step. Just recognizing like this is how much I'm eating. Because at least for me, I would always think when I was trying to lose weight and it wasn't working, I would always think, well, I'm not eating that much. Like I'm really not eating that much. So how could I possibly cut down? And then I would look and I'm like, oh geez, like I'm eating way more than I should. And once you start thinking about it, 15, because I do 1,500 calories a day. I track when I'm losing weight, and so 1,500 calories can go a ways if you're consciously like, I shouldn't eat this because this is tiny and it has 300 calories in it.
Yeah.
Like if I'm drinking like a Dr. Pepper, it's got like 200 calories in it. I'm like, ooh, that's not a good use of my time.
That's my problem too, because I'll drink if I'm just unconsciously doing stuff. I'll drink 600 calories in a day.
Right.
If I have a couple of sodas at dinner or something.
Yeah, I don't drink calories at all. Like I'll drink Diet Coke. I'll have milk every now and again that has like some calories, but for the most part, I don't drink calories. I'll drink water. I'll drink diet sodas. If I'm having coffee, I'll put like a calorie-free sweetener in it.
Yeah. See, I don't drink coffee, so that helps.
Yeah.
Diet Coke's your go-to?
I like Coke Zero.
Yeah, I like Coke Zero too.
Dr. Pepper. There's like Diet Dr. Pepper that's really good too.
Dr. Pepper Zero in my thing.
Yeah, Dr. Pepper Zero.
I don't like Diet Dr. Pepper. It's nasty.
I don't know. I mostly stick to Coke Zero. So I mean, I don't know. It scratches that itch for me. Especially if it's like late in the day and I'm like wanting a snack but I don't have any calories left, I'll drink like a Coke Zero and I'll be happy. The carbonation fills me up and I'm just like, all right, I'm done.
I was talking to my general practitioner or my primary care physician about this, and she said that the artificial sweeteners in Diet Coke or Diet Soda makes you crave sugar more because it activates your sugar receptors in your brain, and it's like, oh, we eating sugar now.
Yeah.
And so it makes you want to eat like snacks if you have them around, and I feel that for sure because I'll be like late at night or something. I'll drink a Diet Soda, and I'm like, man, I want to go in there and get a Little Debbie right now.
See, I feel like that's fair, but to me,
It might be in my head too.
well, I mean, I'm sure it's in your head. Everything's in your head. But for me, like snacks, I know how many calories are in a snack, and so for me, I'm like, oh, when I'm on the wagon, counting calories, I'm like, I shouldn't eat this. It's got to like, this is not worth this calories. I don't have these calories, and so if I cave and eat it, there's some cognitive dissonance going on there because I'm like, I shouldn't be. The whole time I'm eating, I'm like, I shouldn't be eating this.
Yeah. So my problem is if I go over my calorie budget, if I'm trying to lose weight, if I go over my calorie budget by 10 calories, I'm going over by 500.
Yeah.
Once I've broken for the day, I'm like, well, today's ruined. Might as well eat everything I want.
Yeah. So one thing I like to do to combat that, because really there's no such thing as a day as far as your body's concerned. If I eat 2,000 calories today, that's the same as me eating, like 250 calories across 2 days. You know what I'm saying? Like if I go over today and I go
and eat zero and don't eat anything
and I go under tomorrow, those things really balance each other out. So what I like to do is I like to look at it as like a daily deficit and a weekly deficit. And so if I'm like at 1,600 today, that's okay. I can do better tomorrow. And if I'm at 1,400 tomorrow, maybe I'm like, oh, well, I'm not going to have $100 or 100 calorie snack because I went over yesterday. And I think that helps you too, to not be, because if I string together, 1,500 calorie days, and then I go a 6,000 calorie bonanza, I've blown it. I've blown it. So I think it helps to be like, okay,
you're borrowing calories from the next day.
Oh, well, I'm not necessarily saying you have to make it up either, but I'm saying just realize that each day is contributing to a trend. And so,
because it's really more, obviously it's more about the long term anyways.
Right.
You just break it down a day because that's easy for us to understand.
Yeah. Yeah. And also I think you have to be careful about how often you weigh yourself and not letting the number on the scale mess you up, because even
can fool you,
starting out for me,
because you're gonna lose every time I try like to go like straight and narrow, I will lose 10 pounds in the first week,
right?
Just because I shed water,
right? But then,
and I'm pretty big,
But then I'll also have hiccups where for one reason or another I'll be expecting to be down and I'll either be the same or I'll be up a little bit. And I have to be careful not to be like,
it breaks your heart.
Be like, I'm out of here on this, because I'm mad when that happens. I'm like, I've been good all week. And most of the time I'm weighing myself because I've like screwed up a little bit the day before. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I get curious and I'm like, how much damage did I do? And then I check in, I'm like, oh, I've blown it. But I think you have to be realized, like, you didn't gain 5 pounds of fat in one day, right?
Yeah, you're holding it.
You'll let it go. You just gotta give it some time. But yeah, ultimately calorie deficits work. There's no question there.
That's thermodynamics.
Yeah, fat, you can do fad diets to get you there, I've had people try to convince me of like keto and try to convince me of paleo and all like Mediterranean. And I'm sure there are benefits to diets like that. For pure weight loss, really calories in, calories out is the only
the diet's
tangible
just a way to like, it's just a way to do it.
Yeah, it's a way to get there.
Anytime I try to stick to anything, I can't do it. It's so hard to stick to it.
It becomes routine. So the other thing is like,
calorie deficit's fine. But like, if you try to eat keto for a month, you don't have a chance.
Right. And your stomach shrinks too. That's another thing I think people don't realize. If you're eating big all the time and just going, your stomach expands, and then you stop getting
crazy.
You stop getting. If you're overeating all the time, you stop feeling full from the same amount of food because your stomach's expanding to account for it. And so then you're like, well, I can eat 2 Big Macs now to feel the same rush that one gave me. And
that's a hormonal thing too. Like you have like leptin hormones.
And
your full signals.
And then when you start restricting calories, it goes the opposite way. Your stomach shrinks. Now, like we ate at a buffet today. I did not feel good on. I was like a cheat day today because I was like, look, we're going to a buffet like as a family to do a family dinner. Like I'm going to cheat today. I felt terrible on the way home, and I feel like I didn't really eat that much.
Yeah, I didn't eat that much.
But it's because I've been good, quote good. I can tell because I ate today. I had like a big plate and then like a big salad, and I was like, whoa, going home. Yeah, well, the dessert was tiny though, so.
I bet there are a lot of calories in it.
Yeah, I mean, but volume wise.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, anyways, that's the main one for me, health based. I value health. I think other people should too. I think if you have discipline with yourself and like in health, it helps you in other areas too. I definitely feel better when I'm, on the wagon, when I'm doing I'm eating right, I'm exercising. I feel better. I've got more energy. I've mental clarity too is a big one. I'm not in a food haze all the time. So
that's a good place to be.
The
old food haze.
Yeah. I mean, not if you're trying to get things done, but yeah.
I think, I don't know. I really don't have any, like, it wouldn't hurt for me to lose weight too, but, I need to do a lot of stuff around the house. Like we're going to fix this basement up a lot nicer this year. I have a pool out back, so I need some deck furniture. Like we've only been in this house 6 months, so I need some pool furniture before it gets hot again. I need some way to like I need some shade on the back porch because it's 100 degrees back there when the sun's out.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna fly some shade sails or something. I don't know when I'll start on the garage. I've got a huge garage and it's disgusting in there.
Yeah.
But so fix around the house. Stella, her first birthday is in April. She's gonna have a space themed birthday party.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Interstellar.
Oh. Hey, James Webb Telescope should be having some images out by then. So
yeah, that'll be cool. Maybe her birthday cake can be shaped like the James Webb Telescope.
That'd be cool.
Or either that or the Starship SpaceX rocket.
Yeah,
I'm on a space kick. Well, I don't know. That seemed like it was pretty good.
Yeah, so we're at, if I'm checking my watch here, we're at an hour and 12. So that's about the range we want to be for these things, or somewhere around anywhere from 4 hours to like an hour, or no, 4 hours, 45 minutes to an hour and 15. I think it's where we want to be. If you don't want to listen to the whole thing, that's fine. I think it would benefit us to break these out into small clips.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Other podcasts do that. I think it's a good way to get it out. So maybe we'll start doing that.
Because like for me, once they start going into the outro, I cut it off anyways. Like
right.
I wouldn't be listening to this part.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's fair. That's fair. It's been an hour and 15. I know people are busy. So, but anyways, we can wrap it up here. Thanks for listening again. This has been episode 3. Community Improvement Fund podcast. We are your founders. If you have any questions, again, questions, comments, concerns, shoot us an email at info@communityimprovementfund.org. If you want to drop us a donation, we'll put that donation link in the comments. Check out the website. Check out Facebook. We will be having another trivia event coming up in February again, as long as the COVID situation has settled down a little bit. We'll be scheduling that. So look for that on Facebook. After we do that event, we should have another podcast coming out, so be on the lookout for that as well. And yeah, that's it for me.
See you next time.
See ya.
Bye.